React Native developers, the next two lessons are about animations in Reanimated 2. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to use them. And in the next one, we're going to learn how to build them. I couldn't be more excited because animations in Reanimated 2 are a completely different paradigm than in Reanimated 1 and in Vanilla Animated. And they allow for a level of composability which is absolutely delightful. In functional programming, higher order functions are functions that can receive functions as parameters and return other functions. Well, in Reanimated 2, animations are first-class citizens into the library, and they can also receive animations as parameters and return animations. This means composability. So for instance, considering a simple timing animation such as this one, so going to the value 1, if you want, let's say, to repeat the animation 5 times, you're going to simply wrap the animation into another animation, repeat with the 5 iteration parameters. And maybe you want to add some delay, you're going to do the same thing. Apply a delay to the animation. Now, in the Reanimated 1 course, we had this example where we could start an animation. The animation is looping. You can pause the animation at any point and resume it whenever you want. I really liked this example because if you are able to run an animation, loop the animation, pause, resume the animation, it means that you have developed a level of agility with dealing with animation that can take you very far and that can enable you to build complex animation. So in Reanimated 1, building such an example was actually non-trivial. The barrier to entry was quite high, but once you could go over this barrier to entry, you had developed a level of agility which could take you very far with Reanimated 1. In Reanimated 2, if animations are truly composable, this is how such an example should look like. So we would have a timing function that goes from 0 to 1. And then we loop indefinitely on this animation. So this is what the -1 means, indefinite number of iterations. And then we have the true parameter, which means reverse on the next iteration the animation, meaning that we go from 0 to 1 and then from 1 to 0, not back from 0 to 1. And then if we want the animation to be pausable and resumable, we simply pass this animation as parameter of another animation called with pause. And we pass as parameter a shared animation value, which tells us if the animation is paused or not. So if animations are truly composable in Reanimated 2, this is how it should look like. Let me show you, before we jump into the code, let me show you another example. This is a pan gesture example that we've built in a previous lesson. So when I release the gesture, we have a nice decay animation that gives it a physical vibe. Now, if animations in Reanimated 2 are truly composable, if I want, for instance, the card to bounce when it touches the edge of the container, I can simply, instead of building some sort of complex animation, I can simply wrap the with decay with bouncing to add the bouncing behavior to the decay animation. So with bouncing, I need to pass the boundaries of the containers. And I can, since with bouncing takes care of the bounce, I can remove the clamp in with decay. It's not necessary anymore. And I can do the same for the y-axis. So I need to pass the boundaries of the container. And now, let me reload. My file. You see the card bounces nicely into the edges, and you can configure also the bouncing behavior. So it's actually pretty fun. And I love that we can create these custom animations, which we can use to easily modify the behavior of our animations. Now let's get into the code. Here we have our chat bubble component, which takes a progress value which goes from 0 to 1. So here we have 0.5, so it's at 50%. You can show you what it looks like at 1. So here it's at 1. You can have it at 0 as well. And we have the play state. Is the animation playing or not? We toggle the state on when pressing the button. And so the first thing we're going to do is to replace this number by an animation value, which represents the progress. So I'm going to call progress equals use shared value, default 0. And we're going to pass it here as property. So in chat bubble, this becomes an animated dot shared value of number. And we pass it as parameter of the bubble. And so here, it's not progress anymore, it's progress dot value. Need to import use shared value. So here we have it at 0. And now what we can do is that when starting the animation, we can assign to progress an animation. So it's not going to be a shared value anymore. We're going to assign an animation, loop the animation, and then make it pausable, resumable. So what I want to do actually, what I can do is so I want to assign null to the shared value. And null means the shared value hasn't been initialized yet. We haven't assigned an animation to it yet. So the shared value can be null or a number. And if, when we press play, if the animation hasn't been initialized yet, so if progress.value equals null, we assign the animation. So we can do progress.value equals with timing of 1. Let's have a look. So if I press play, we go to 1. Perfect. Now we want the animation to loop. So we're going to name it repeat. So this video is recorded with Reanimated 2 Alpha 5. It is very likely that in future version of Reanimated, all these animations will be prefixed with prefix. So with repeat, with timing, and so on. So it is clear that these are higher order animations. So repeat, we want to repeat indefinitely, -1, and we want the animation to boomerang. So to go from 1 to 0 in the same. So to go from 0 to 1 and then 1 to 0, not 0 to 1. So let me import repeat from Reanimated. So I play the animation and now it loops nicely. Maybe I want to make it a bit slower. And I want maybe to add some easing. Looking good. And now we want the animation to be pausable, resumable. So we need a shared value to tell us if the animation should be paused or not. So I'm going to create the paused shared value. And it is, so use a shared value, and the default value is the opposite of play. If it's playing, it's not paused, it's false. And if play is false, paused is true. So it's going to be the opposite of play. And we need to toggle the value here as well. So paused.value is its opposite value. And now we're going to use with pause we pass the animation as parameter, and then we pass the paused shared value to control if the animation should be paused or not. So repeat with timing are shipped with reanimated. With pause is a custom animation which I built. Probably I'm going to ship it in the upcoming version of Redash. And in the next lesson, we're going to learn how to build these custom animations. So with pause, with bouncing, you can imagine all sorts of animations you can build that can be composable. And this is what we're going to look like in the next lesson. So in this lesson, we learn how to use them. In the next one, we learn how to build them. And so now I have with pause. Let me run the example. So I can play. It loops nicely. I can pause at any point. It's interrupted. And now if I press play again, it should resume nicely exactly at the position it was. And it also remembers, where was the direction of the animation. So originally, when I tried to build this example, so I took the reanimated 1 example and tried to build it with reanimated 2. So I was using repeat with timing, and then without using higher order animations, I tried to implement the example. So I had to remember for each iteration in which direction the animation was going. I had to, when resuming the animation, I had to finish from where the animation stopped back to 1 or 0, depending on the direction, and then run the loop again. That was just a big mess. Thanks to higher order animations, we simply express the animation in a very natural way, with pause, with repeat, with timing. And we pass the necessary parameters to each animations. So I hope you guys found this example useful. And in the next lesson, we're going to learn how to build these custom animations.